The capacity of a country to provide for the welfare and security of its citizens, as well as to develop and consolidate representative democracy, is determined by its ability to raise enough resources. Taxation is the major source of internally generated revenue for Ghana. The development of most countries, therefore, depends on the effectiveness of their tax system. In Ghana, hardly do people pay taxes voluntarily, and the framework of laws and policies to ensure all taxable citizens pay tax is either weak or non-existent. The highest tax to GDP ratio over the last 5 years was in 2018, when the nation recorded some 14.1%. In 2019 and 2020, the country recorded a tax to GDP of 13.9 and 13.3% respectively. There's significant evidence that taxation has often been a catalyst for demands for greater accountability, with citizens continuously asking for the evidence of what their taxes have been used for.
Things are going top. People are suffering, so we don't know what to do. We just bail. Whether we should run from Ghana, we don't know. Whether we should stay, we don't know. So people are crying. Look at people sleeping, dunking everywhere. Things are very rough, begging. So we don't know what to do.
I don't see anything. Now, they are saying that the dollar has reduced the rate. Just as today, it was 12. Now it has dropped to 10. But still, market prices are still maintaining. No price control. So we're still living in the hardship. There's nothing better going on. Nothing is working for us.
Well, to some extent, yes, some extent, no. I mean, we all live on the perception of that our politicians are taking our money. They're using it for unnecessary things. I mean, there's people driving V8 all over the place. And I mean, basic things like a pothole, it takes several years to get fixed. So basically, I can say no. From my point of view, I can say no.
As for me, no. Because we are paying the tax and still we are not seeing anything. Any improvement, our roads are not good. We are not bringing good water. So I don't know the importance of these taxes.
Personally, I haven't given attention to it much, but it's really a problem we are all facing now. But to me, I'm going as the system is. I have no option than to accept the system.
At 13% in 2020, Ghana's tax to GDP ratio remains far below the government's target of 20% by 2023. Though this ratio is 5 percentage points higher than in the 2000 target, it has remained at the same level since 2017. Much of the growth in Ghana's tax revenues since the year 2000 has come from increased corporate, personal income tax, VAT, and similar taxes, though revenue growth from the latter two has stagnated more recently. This, according to tax expert Dr. Alex Mpabing, is worrying.
We need revenue. We quickly go for the easy hanging fruit, VAT, or the various levies as a solution. To effectively tax and to promote efficiency in the tax system, there are some things the tax system has to do. Fairness is one. Adequacy, are we collecting enough that is adequate for our development? And surely that answer is straightforward. It's no. And that's why we're going to IMF as one of the reasons. To promote efficiency in the tax system, we need to see taxation as any other fiscal infrastructure. So investing into the tax space should be seen as the same as investing in the hospitals or schools or our roads. We need to build a solid system that is able to tackle corruption and leakages, a system that will reduce political interference, a system that will promote accountability, and a system that will harness our individual differences and our expertise to generating the revenue. And clearly, all these key issues I've talked about, Ghana is missing out.
Ghana has undertaken series of tax reforms since the commencement of the Fourth Republic in 1992. Controversially, a value-added tax was introduced in 1995, withdrawn as a result of widespread protest and reintroduced in 1998 after comprehensive education of citizens. Besides, direct taxes, which consist of corporate and personal income taxes, have also undergone various reforms to restructure thresholds and widen the tax base through measures that encourage tax payments by small-scale self-employed business persons. A major reform in 2009 led to the integration of the three major tax revenue institutions, that is, the Internal Revenue Service, the VAT Service, and the Customs, Excise and Preventive Service into a single agency, the Ghana Revenue Authority, with the aim of modernizing tax revenue collection and administration, as well as improve customer service.
For example, we realized that we needed to actually give our taxpayers some kind of a comfort. So we went what we call online filing, so that they could file their tax returns online without, coming to the Ghana Revenue Authority. Again, we also went on, adopted this online payment, so that our taxpayers could just pay their taxes without having to come to the Ghana Revenue Authority. This actually worked, to help us meet our target. Again, we also had to actually work towards our psyche, our orientation. We held the belief that once taxes are mandatory, therefore we could just use brute force to collect taxes. But we've been told that no. So we actually set up what we call customer experience. And customer experience essentially is just working on staff to appreciate the fact that taxpayers must be accorded courtesies. You get it? And also to make tax paying less tasking. That actually also helped us, so much.
Dominic Nab is Assistant Commissioner with the Commissioner General, Secretariat. Subsequently, there have been some amendments to an introduction of some laws which, according to the Ghana Revenue Authority, has improved on tax collection and accountability.
There's also an important, aspect of it, and that has to do with the introduction of this integrated customs management systems, ICAMS. That system has actually helped so much. If you look at it critically, in time past, customs had challenges meeting their target. But ever since it was introduced in 2020, customs has been able to meet its target. It actually takes away a lot of human intervention, and then also provides some comfort, for importers. They are able to actually start processing their documents early, even before the goods arrive. And again, they are also able to know how much they are paying, and they themselves can pay without even the support of their agents.
According to the CDD Afrobarometer Survey Round 5, Ghanaians are of the view that officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority have very low integrity. Half of Ghanaians surveyed perceive some tax officials to be involved in corruption. Another 48% consider most or all of these officials to be corrupt. Thus, to the ordinary Ghanaian, the country's tax administration stinks with graft. President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, says the Ghana Revenue Authority has not dealt with the loopholes in its tax collection system effectively.
There are so many people who even import goods to Ghana, but they are not registered the VAT with your outfit. And so the people just bring the goods and then they give the goods to us without the input tax. Those people who bring goods from Nigeria and all that, they are not registered people. They bring the goods as a one-shot goods that they recognize that these goods can be sold in Ghana, they bring it. But they are not duly registered with the VAT, so they don't have the VAT to even charge to you. So we said that in the informal sector, unless you clear and that the chain is continuous, otherwise you cannot tell me to do the standard rate system where I do not have the input tax. So they also recognize that problem.
Another sector of the economy that has been described as a leaking pot is the ports and harbors. Research shows that Ghana loses almost 30% of the expected revenue at the ports to leakages in the form of corruption, under-declaration, and tax avoidance. The Importers and Exporters Association, Ghana, are equally concerned about the weaknesses in tax accountability at the ports. Samson Asaki Awingobit is its executive secretary.
If you make the port so so highly costly that we have two major ports within surround us. In 2018, when MPS came, Tematri came to being, we said we're the best so far, the biggest one so far within West Africa. But as we speak now, we are now living in our past dreams because Africans have just also put up a terminal or a port system that has a bigger bet, again, like MPS has. And the cost of doing businesses in Ivory Coast is much, much cheaper. The CFA is where it used to be since 1999 to date. And of course, you know that we have a fluctuation on our city to the dollar issues in this country, coupled with our tax rate. When even there was this COVID-19 and there was this Russia-Ukraine, when Ivory Coast had even given tax rebate to the business community, especially those who bring in food commodities. Ghana, here, we are rather increasing those areas. And our taxes component is not friendly at all. I was so surprised to have heard the president of the Republic of Ghana, when they had their 3 days cabinet retreat, says that within Africa, our tax net was the lowest one there. We before 2022 January or February or March, about business community used to do an input tax of 12.5 at the port, get fund 2.5, health insurance 2.5, COVID-19, and other financial recovery. Then you come to the market, you do 3% plus 1%, make it 4%. Which government used to collect all. In 2021 December, they rushed to Parliament to get Parliament amend that act, that 3% flat rate, moving many people to the standardized tax, and which we saw this sat down in Kumasi and then of course Accra, when the people complain of the way GRA put up all their staff and put pressure on them on this implementation.
It is not surprising, therefore, to find that 58% have little or no trust at all in the Ghana Revenue Authority. This is a concern shared by Dominic Nab, who outlines measures being put in place to deal with the situation.
Ghana Revenue Authority actually operates on the ecosystem. And what we have decided doing as an institution is to go cashless. Are you getting it? So if you go to Energy Ghana Revenue Authority premises, you don't see us collecting cash directly. You have to do that through the banks and through Momo. Ghana as a country, has also embraced, cash light or cashless, as it were. So we are hoping and praying, that if we are able to go fully, into the space of cashless or cash light, system, then we would have all these persons who are not actually, known in terms of their incomes. Then we can get them, on board. The challenge has always been that they don't keep proper records. That is the challenge.
Tax collections on imported goods have become far less important in the revenue mix, though they remain significant. 30% of overall tax revenues were collected on imported goods in 2019, including VAT on imported products, compared to 54% in the year 2000. The contribution of imported duties, specifically to total tax revenue, declined from 18% in 2000 to a low 12% in 2009. Professor Lord Mensah is an associate professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School.
We've politicized our revenue collection in some aspect. Apart from the issue of not being able to expand the tax net, even though we have made some investment over the years. So things like national identification card, property address, digital address, and all those. All our investment to ensure that, we leverage on them to rope in the informal sector as far as our revenue collection is concerned. But then having looked at the existing structures that we have, which we've compromised part of it, including the port entry and the possible leakages that we have at the port entry. We have politicized this revenue collection at the port. If you leave me per chance, I would have created a special entity and then set a target for the special entity to be doing the collection of revenue at the port for the government, so that will come at a cost to the state. Because if you look at the leakages that we have, if we get a special entity that is taking, the revenue at the port on behalf of the government, it will be difficult to compromise this special entity. And all that you have to do is to make sure that you give them targets for them to meet, and then you reward them based on the target. And I think it will go a long way to help. Well, somebody will say that is how GRA is operating. But the GRA itself, in terms of appointment and all those to the top hierarchy, they can compromise in terms of revenue collection on behalf of the state. So if politician is important, most of the time can avoid payment of what import is due them, and then possibility of some rich men providing freebies to government. I see some rich men who will go and provide hospitals to government entities, or even to some extent to security entities. When those things are provided, it doesn't go free.
The design of Ghana's tax system is a crucial issue for policymakers. This is especially true in light of a challenging fiscal outlook, with overall government budget balance reaching 11.7% of GDP for 2020, and spending on compensation of employees and debt repayment exceeding 100% of tax revenue.
Debt servicing is now absorbing more than half of total government revenues and almost 70% of tax revenues.
Kweku Rekethagen is a former Deputy Minister of Finance.
All the tax handles and all the revenue policies that we put in place to enhance revenue and to get what will actually get us that money. We had property, tax, which was done last year, and it was added to the revenue that we were going to receive as a tax revenue. But that project never took off. So basically what you've done is that you shot yourself in the foot, because that revenue is not coming. So there's no way you're going to even receive the revenue that we've got. The same thing has come again. Hopefully this time around, it will happen. 2.5 VAT, nuisance as it is, does not give you much. 2 billion, e-levy, nuisance from the very beginning, is not going to be realized.
Stakeholders in the industry sector in Ghana say Ghana's tax policy framework must be reviewed in order to be industry friendly. According to the Accounting and Business magazine of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants 2021 edition, 38 millionaires in France in recent time approached the authorities for their tax to be increased. This shows the level of awareness that some citizens have as their obligations to the state. Clearly, Ghana's tax policy framework and accountability systems need to be improved. Which areas should be the focus of policymakers? Dr. Abdallah Ali Nachia is a tax expert and lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School.
What the revenue is being used for, part of the e-levy was targeted at creating jobs, entrepreneurial space, and what have you. I kept asking myself, what was the purpose of communication service tax? Same reason we gave. And if you remember the adverts on the onset of communication service tax, which was then called top tax,
Indeed,
was to create jobs. And you remember the advert where the man insisted he wasn't going to pay, and his son said, Daddy, I've been sitting home for 4 years, and if this tax is going to create jobs for me, I think we should embrace it so I get employed. What has come of what was collected? How many jobs has it created? Where was the money applied? And then we would get that confidence, because that is where to get taxpayer compliance and confidence in the system. Because tax paying has been a contract between the state and its citizens. The contract, I fulfill my part by paying my taxes, and it is up to government to show me where and what the money was used for. That is why I keep saying, even where we need to borrow to fix roads or do any infrastructure or provide any social service, we should be able to advertise it as such and such a highway constructed with African Development Bank fund, paid for or to be paid for or to be recovered from taxpayer funds.
Other stakeholders of the view, improving tax accountability should not necessarily lead to the introduction of new tax laws.
Because taxes are not there to come and punish anybody, that to destroy my business, and that because government have the right to punish me to pay tax. It shouldn't be seen. That's why people run away from taxes. Taxes should be friendly. Taxes should be something that people are very happy come from within and do it, because you structured the tax with them and then you journeyed along with them, and then they adopted it as something that they have to do as a responsibility and a right also to do.
I was a bit surprised just at the huge dip in public trust and support for certain institutions and public offices, including the presidency. And it's not a good thing when the places within the constitutional and political system where power is lodged for finding solutions to problems, power is lodged for transforming the system, for changing the system. When those same places are the ones enjoying the least trust, then you ask yourself, if citizens feel this much despair, what then? Because if the places you are going to go to for solutions is the places where you have invested your trust, your mandate, your hope, are also places where you don't think you can get results, where else are you going to go?
The whole principle of taxation of the digital financial system, it should be a taxation of the industry, not the platforms. The industry should not be seen as a cash cow that has to be milked. We need to look at it more as the workhorse that is pulling other industries up.
The Ghana Revenue Authority recently introduced the electronic VAT invoicing system, which is expected to reduce cost and processing time. This is expected to address some complaints of taxpayers. According to Dominic Nab, the Ghana Revenue Authority intends to leverage extensively on technology to improve tax compliance and accountability.
When it comes to tax collection, indeed, it is dogged with a lot of challenges. And we can talk about the informal sector of our economy. We have a lot of traders who are actually in business. But because they are not regulated, essentially we are unable to actually get them to pay taxes. We have artisans here and there. Some of them actually, because of the nature of their operations, they operate in the non-financial world, if you like. They don't actually save through the banks and what have you. Yes, they are supposed to pay taxes, but we are unable to actually get them to pay taxes. That was a challenge and continues to be a challenge. Again, we are in the COVID era, and COVID has been with us for some time now, and I can tell you that last year it was a challenge, and this year it will continue to be a challenge. That notwithstanding, we are going to work towards it. Again, because of COVID, training of staff in Ghana Revenue Authority was actually disturbed. We think that we need to actually train our staff, to be able to do the tax collection. But COVID made it very, very, impossible. We had to sometimes rely on virtual training, and I can tell you that that wasn't too effective. So we believe that if by God's grace this menace is kept, then we would actually ramp up, programs regarding training and be able to actually get our staff, on board. Another important, challenge that also confronted us had to do with our institutional debts. We have a lot of organizations that owe Ghana Revenue Authority and were unable to actually pay us. Not that they were not willing to pay, they also had their challenges. So these are some of the things that actually worked against tax collection.
Ghana's tax to GDP is fairly typical of countries in sub-Saharan Africa. However, considering countries of a similar income level across the world, Ghana's tax revenue collections are relatively low. Out of 36 lower middle income countries with available data, Ghana ranked 26th in 2018, with funds from the international donor agencies and external support reducing or becoming inaccessible. There is an urgent need to improve systems, structures, and frameworks to ensure efficient collection and accountability of taxes in Ghana.